On July 10, 2002, Jeff Joplin was discovered dead in his home. He appeared to have been murdered in a robbery gone wrong. Friends told detectives to look into Jeff's ex-girlfriend, Heather Miser. Police searched for her, finding that Heather and her new boyfriend, Sean Wilhelm, had vanished the day following the murder. While searching for the couple, investigators visited Sean's mother, Sandy. She admitted that her son and Heather had recently been at the house, along with Sean's cousin Justin Clapp and friends Joseph Walton and Brett Matthews. Sandy gave police notes Sean had written, all talking about how he wanted Jeff dead. Officers soon tracked down Joseph Walton and questioned him. He spilled details about the murder and confirmed that Sean had wanted to kill Jeff. Joseph Walton, Justin Clapp, Brett Matthews, Heather and Sean are charged for Jeff's murder. Sean agrees to speak with investigators.
Okay, today is 7/20/03. I'm Detective Joplin with the Smith County Sheriff's Department, and I have in the room with me Mr. Bobby Mims and Sean Willem. Sean, what's your date of birth? Your attorney to talk to us today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what I'm going to do is read you your rights before we get started. Have the right to remain silent and not make any statement at all, and that any statement I make may be used against me at my trial. Any statement I make may be used as evidence against me in court. I have the right to have a lawyer present to advise me prior to during questioning. If I'm unable to employ a lawyer, I have the right to have a lawyer appointed to advise me prior to and during any questioning, and I have the right to terminate this interview at any time. I understand each of these rights. I know that I do not have to make this statement and that I can end this interview at any time. I want to make this statement at this time, even though I know and understand that it can be used against me in court. I do not wish to have a lawyer either hired or appointed, but your attorney is here, present or advise me before or during any questioning. No one has promised me anything to get me to give up any of my rights or to make this statement. This waiver is completely voluntary on my part. You still wish to give a statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand each of your rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. What I would like to do is just get you to tell me, we're obviously here to talk about Jeff Joplin, okay?
Yes.
And what I'd like for you to do is you just tell me what happened, how you all got together. I'll let you tell the story, and then I'll ask questions after that, okay?
Where exactly do you want me to start?
Start with you in Kentucky with Heather and your mother.
Yes.
And Jeffrey, and then from there would be good. And if you remember days or dates, that's fine. If you don't, just roundabout.
Okay. We got to Kentucky, I think it was probably a Friday. I'm not exactly sure of the dates, but I was originally from Kentucky. I got friends up there. I contacted a few of my friends. At some point within the week that we was there, I got in contact with Joseph Walton. Told him that I knew that Jeffrey Joplin sold a lot of drugs and that if he was interested, I could set up a deal for him. And at that time, I went through Heather Miser and had her set up a drug deal. It was for marijuana, methamphetamine, ecstasy, and Xanax. The deal was set up with just me, Joseph, and Heather at first. Joseph said he did not have the money to cover everything that he wanted, and he called Brett Matthews to come in and go in money-wise with him. That's where Brett Matthews comes into the picture. Originally, Daniel was going to be the driver to bring Joseph and Brett from Kentucky to here. At the last minute, he backed out, and that's when Justin Clapp comes in to the picture to offer his car to bring us here in exchange for drugs and money. Shortly after that, I returned to Texas with my mother and Heather, and I'm guessing within 8 hours of us leaving, Justin, Joseph, and Brett left in Justin's car to follow behind us. They showed up early afternoon. It was a Monday. I think it was July the 9th. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I know it was a Monday though.
Okay.
They showed up. We hung around the house for a little while at my mother's place. Heather was supposed to be going to Jeffrey Joplin's house to give him the money and pick up the drugs and bring it to us. There was a lot of controversy as far as why we wasn't getting the drugs, why he had our money and wasn't giving us the drugs that we'd come to buy. Heather brought us a little bit of marijuana back to say, you know, this is what you're going to be paying for. Go ahead and test it out. You know that. So, and then this time she's using my mother's car, or no, she's using Justin's car to do this back and forth exchange. When she brings the marijuana back, she takes my mother's car to go to Fat Dog's liquor store to buy some rum for my mother. And this time, Justin, Brett, Joseph, and I get in Justin's car and drive around and smoke the marijuana. When we come back, Heather has dropped off the rum and has gone again to Jeff's house to supposedly pick up the drugs. So we're just sitting around my mother's house. Heather's gone for a long period of time. She finally comes back at, I think it was about 10 o'clock. She came back momentarily, said that Jeff had or didn't have the drugs and he had our money. And she left again. Was gone for a couple of hours. I think she come back about maybe 1 o'clock a.m. Somewhere around there. Come back, said that he wasn't giving us our money back and he didn't have the drugs. At this time, you know, Justin and Joseph and Brett and I, we were pretty angry for the fact that this guy has our money and he's not giving us what we've come to get.
Right.
So we decided that we're going to go out there and find out what the deal is. At this point, there was no mention of robbery and murder or anything like that.
Okay.
It was just to find out what exactly the problem is. Okay. About the time we was getting in the car, it turned into, well, before we got in the car, we had some ice, or the methamphetamines that Heather had brought. She had a little bit of it with her. We smoked that, and then we left in the car. When we got in the car, it turned into well, since he tried to screw us over, we're going to go out here and beat him up, rob him, take our money and his drugs. Mm-hmm. At some point on the way to his house, we was pretty much kind of planning how this was going to work. That's when, Heather said that she would go in first, make sure that Jeffrey was away from his gun, and make sure, everything was pretty much in order for us to go in there and rob him. Heather, she has keys to his house, keys to his safes, all that. She knows where the safes are, knows where he keeps his money, everything of that nature. She also says that she knows that there's an electrical cord somewhere, I think, behind the couch that we could use to tie him up with. It's just like an orange electrical cord.
Okay.
And her signal for us is when she's ready, she'll flip the lights on and off a couple times to let us know that everything's okay. Before we show up, I mentioned to everybody that if I felt it necessary that I would murder Jeffrey Joplin. There was no real comment from anybody. Joseph mentioned, he's like, don't do it if you don't have to, but if you do, oh well. That's pretty much his attitude. Nobody else said anything about it. We get to Jeff's trailer. I get out of the car while Heather goes inside because I'm aware of the video surveillance outside. I was to take the video surveillance off the house. I noticed everybody getting out of the car and going into the trailer. At this time, I'm coming back from around the back, and as I come around the corner, I can see inside where the door's open. Justin, or Heather's already in the house. Justin's the first one in after her. When he goes in, he reaches out to shake Jeff's hand. When he shakes his hand, he pulls him into him and puts him in a chokehold. I guess through the weight shift or however it worked, they stumbled into the couch, and Justin had him in a chokehold. We proceeded to pretty much beat up Jeff, hitting him, kicking him. It wasn't a very pleasant scene.
Yeah.
At some point, Justin took I think it was a tie, like a necktie, wrapped it around Joplin's neck, took a miniature baseball bat, and started to twist it to tighten up the thing around his neck.
Okay.
I guess he twisted it so much that the tie actually snapped. Then the beating pretty much proceeded for a short period of time. I mean, everybody, well, except for Heather, she was just standing there watching us beat him. When we realized that he wasn't moving at that point, we started to ransack the house, looking for the drugs and the money. Brett had found some cash. I don't know the exact amount. I just heard him say, "I've got some money." Heather come out of a room with a bunch of drugs, mainly the ice, the ecstasy, and whatever other drugs she had found, a small amount of marijuana. Then we just kind of continued to go through the house to find whatever it is that we can find that might be hidden, because we knew that he had a couple of safes.
Yeah.
And, Jeff started trying to get away at this point. I beat him with the baseball bat, and I put the baseball bat down. We kind of jump on him again, start kicking him and hitting him. Sometimes Justin picks up the baseball bat and hits Jeffrey in the head, and that's when the baseball bat severs into. I wasn't sure exactly where the second part of the baseball bat went. I thought it went into the kitchen. I later found out that Joseph had found the broken half of the baseball bat and removed it from the house. After that, it was kind of more of a ransacking, trying to figure out. Heather tells us to get the computer. She never really gave a specific reason. I'm sure it had to do with the surveillance. They told us, we needed to get the computer. Everybody else is kind of in the back of the house. I see Jeff on the floor. I was kind of, I don't know what word I'm looking for. Not really in the right state of mind.
Yeah.
Wasn't thinking clearly at
Right.
the time. I go into the kitchen and I get a knife. No particular knife. It was really just the first one that I seen.
Okay.
Picked it up out of a little block of steak knives.
Okay.
At some time when I was doing this, Brett Matthews, he'd come into the room. He was standing about as far as from me to you, to me, and Heather come in behind him. She was standing over by the entertainment center, where the TV and
Right.
stereo equipment, all that is. At that time, I proceeded to stab Jeffrey Joplin approximately 6-7 times.
Okay.
Nobody tried to stop me. Nobody said anything as far as what are you doing. They just pretty much grabbed everything that they had and went out of the house. I'm still in the house. I was the only one in the house at the time. I was standing there over Jeffrey, kind of shocked, not really thinking about what we're trying to figure out exactly what I had just done. Trying to figure out why did I do this. I think Heather was the first one to come back and tell me to, come on, get out of the house, let's go. I didn't leave at that time. I was trying to find the other half of the baseball bat. Justin come in after Heather and pretty much just kind of drug me out of the house. Just grabbed me by the arm and was like, come on, we have to go. And we left. We got in the car, sped away, and went back to my mother's house. We pretty much were taking it kind of like it was a joke. I mean, you know, nobody was really like concerned about what we just did.
Right.
We get back to my mother's house. We're just kind of hanging out at the time, kind of waiting for her to get up, get ready for work, and go to work. When she gets up and gets in the shower, we're gathering up anything that we think may have blood or may link us to the crime in any way. We're gathering it up and putting it in Justin's car when we go to Lake Palestine, which is, we were going to originally just toss all the evidence over the side of the bridge, but there was a lot of traffic. So we just found a little small road off of the bridge, followed it out through some trees off into a clearing where we dumped the evidence in the lake. At some point while we were gone, Heather took my mother's car to Brookshire's, I believe, to buy a bottle of bleach. When we got back to my mother's place, she is bleaching everything inside, sinks, shoes, really just anything that she thinks that might have evidence on it. We're just kind of waiting for my mother to leave the house. As soon as she leaves for work, we load up anything that we still may have that would link us to the crime. We put it in, I believe, a white trash bag. We load everything in the car, all of us, the 5 of us, me and Heather, Brett, Justin, Joseph, and Heather's son, Gregory, load into Justin's car and leave within, I'll say, 30 minutes of my mother leaving for work. We decided we would take back roads. We weren't sure if Jeffrey had been discovered yet, if, you know, possibly they may be looking for us. We took a lot of back roads. At some point when we were coming through Arkansas, we stopped at, I think it was a hunting lodge, something like that. We stopped there to use the restroom and to toss out any other evidence that we may have had on us at that time. From there, we stopped in, I think it's Glenwood. We stopped there at the hotel room. We stayed there for pretty much most of the day. We didn't want to be driving through the day. We wanted to wait until night to start moving. And plus, we'd all been up, doing drugs, and that we hadn't been sleeping. Some people wanted to get rest. So when we get to the hotel, we're in the room, doing drugs, stuff like that. Justin had taken Gregory to the swimming pool, and later on, Joseph joined him down there. But pretty much most of the time, we're doing drugs in the hotel room there. From there, it was just before dark. We continued to Kentucky. We got back. It was real late at night. I don't know about what time, but it was late. We at first went to Justin's house. Was there still doing drugs, mainly ecstasy at that time. I was getting real paranoid from the lack of sleep and the ecstasy and the ice, and I leave, call my aunt, tell her to come pick me up. She comes and picks me up. I go to stay with her. Within, say, 18, 20 hours, I was arrested.
Let me ask you to tell me how you met Heather.
I met Heather through, she was my boss's daughter when I worked at Red Lobster, Elaine McClellan. Heather come to the restaurant a few times. I'd met her. We started hanging out. We were good friends, and then just kind of developed into a relationship.
Okay. Where was she working, or was she working at that time?
When we first met, she was working at the Black Eyed Pea, I believe. That's what I know. She started working at Time Out there about approximately 3 months after we had met. We'd already had started a relationship before she had started working there.
When did she first mention Jeff Joplin to you? When did you first know about him?
It was shortly after we had met. I'll say a few weeks, maybe a month. I knew about him.
What did she tell you about him?
Said that her mother had known him for quite some time, that they had known each other since she was like a young kid. Just basically, he was like a family friend. I mean, that's pretty much the extent. I mean, she had told me that he sold drugs and stuff of that nature.
When did you learn different about their relationship?
I was never really certain. I mean, I always had, a gut feeling that there was something going on between them. I never had actual proof of their relationship, but I kind of knew. I knew that he was taking pornographic pictures of her.
How'd you know that?
She had told me.
She knew.
Yes. She said, he was paying her to take these pictures, and that he was putting them on the internet.
What was he paying her with? Money? Drugs?
She told me that she was giving him a check.
You mean, I'm sorry, clear that up for me. Who was giving who a check?
Jeffrey was giving Heather a check.
Okay.
She had said that he does this for a few of the girls that work out at Time Out. They would come in, he would take pictures to put on the internet, and he would pay them by check.
Okay. And had you ever met him prior to that night?
Yes.
When did you meet him?
I met Jeff a few times. I think the first time we met would have been I'm thinking about September or October of 2001, right around there.
Okay.
But from that time, I'd been to his house a few times, gotten drugs from him. Nothing, we weren't exactly friends, but we were acquaintances.
Did you ever confront Heather about her relationship with Jeff?
Yes.
What did you talk to her about?
I told her that, I suspected there was something going on between them. Of course, she denied it. I never really pursued to find out. But I always had my suspicions.
Okay. Well, she obviously told you more, or you obviously found out more because some things you'd written. You remember writing some stuff about him?
Yes.
So you found out more somewhere. When did you find out, and what did you?
That was actually shortly after the first time I had met him.
Okay.
She had come to my mother's house, crying that Jeff had grabbed her by her hair and hit her. I wasn't very pleased about the situation.
Right.
So I did. I wrote some bad things.
Did you believe her? You obviously did.
Yes, I believed her.
Did she ask you to do anything about it?
No, actually, she asked me not to. I was going to go confront Jeffrey, see exactly what the deal was. She just kind of told me not to do anything. Said, just drop it. So I dropped it. But as far as the writing, I found that it's just a way that I vent my anger.
Right.
Some people take walks, some people do their thing. That's just what I do. I express myself through what I write.
Okay. Well, let's get back to then discussion with Heather while you're in Kentucky?
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is when you first started talking about going back to Texas and getting drugs from Jeff. Is that right?
Yes. It was kind of I've had the idea of doing this for a while.
Was it your idea or Heather's idea?
It was my idea.
Okay.
I had contemplated doing this for some time. I knew that Joseph Walton sold a lot of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much any drug that he could sell, he would sell it.
And you've known Joseph for a long time
Yes.
from Kentucky, right?
Yes, me and Joseph were really, really close friends.
Okay.
So, I just called him and told him, I know that you're looking for a new connection. And, because I knew that he was. I told him that I knew a guy. I didn't say Jeff's name. I just told him I know a guy in Texas. He has, good quality and it's a cheap price.
Well, you had to know all that. You said you'd gone over to his house a couple times?
Yes, well, quite. I've been there a few times.
But did you, at that time, see all the drugs, or did someone or Heather tell you everything he had and where he kept it? I mean, how did you learn all that?
Partly from Heather, partly from being there.
Okay.
Jeff was kind of guy, you come out, you buy drugs from him, well, as long as you hang out, he'll do his drugs with you. I mean, you go out there to buy some meth from him, you just get what you want. If you're hanging out with him, he'll just do his drugs with you. I've seen at times him having a gallon-sized baggie halfway full with ice, and just lots of quality or quantity of it. I've known him to have a bunch of pounds of marijuana. Know that he was a couple people that he was selling marijuana to. So I knew that he had that. I was told that he was getting buckets of pills.
Who told you that?
Heather told me this.
Okay.
Buckets about this big,
Mm-hmm.
about yay round.
Okay.
So it's just a white bucket. They come in from Mexico, and it's
What kind of pills?
prescription pills. Mostly he was getting Xanax, Valium, I think maybe Vicodin, something like that. He really just.
But you got all that information
Pills.
from Heather.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Mostly the information I get comes from Heather. When I went to set up the drug deal, Joseph, he was really interested,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I told him what the price was going to be. He was interested.
Who came up with that price? How did y'all know?
I just know what Jeff normally charges.
Okay.
So, I wasn't exactly sure on the ice and on the pills. I had a kind of rough estimate on the pills, but I knew definitely on the marijuana.
Okay.
I tell Heather, I was like, all right, this is what we need.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her to call Jeff
Mm-hmm.
and have it set up.
Let me ask you something. Why didn't you call Jeff and have it set up? Why was it Heather that was going to make the connection?
Well, like I said, Jeff and I weren't
Okay.
best of friends. I figured that things would go a lot more smoothly
With Heather?
with Heather.
Did you know how Jeff felt about Heather?
Not completely. I kind of had an
An
idea,
idea, yeah.
but
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
so after I'd asked Heather to make the drug deal,
Mm-hmm.
I was outside of the apartment where we were staying, making phone calls to my friends.
What was it? Is this in Kentucky or Texas?
This is in Kentucky.
This is still in Kentucky. Okay, you're just trying to get it set up and get some people to go with you, right? Is
well,
that when? Is that what you're telling
originally,
me?
yes.
Okay.
Originally, I just wanted Joseph. I didn't.
Right. We talked about that.
Yes,
yeah.
I didn't want
Okay.
other people involved. It was just a Joseph.
Right.
The other people that come in, that was Joseph's. That was him and their deal. What they had, I didn't know what their exact agreement was. But what my part in it was just with Joseph.
Well, who hooked up Brett and Justin with your group? Who?
That was Joseph.
Joseph called
Yeah,
him?
he called Brett because he needed more money. Brett didn't want to just give his money, and he wanted to come along and
Right.
watch his money, basically.
Right.
And Daniel, he was supposed to be the original driver. He backed out really about 2 hours before we were set to leave. Justin shows up on the scene and was like, well, I'll drive for drugs and money.
And you had told me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that during that time that you had never mentioned the connection's name. Is that correct?
No, I don't believe I'd ever mentioned
Okay,
it.
so Daniel would not have known who you were supposed to be hooking up with in Texas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh yes, the phone call. I was real suspect of the phone call that Heather had made. She said she had made the phone call from my mother's cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like it was kind of quick.
Yeah.
Like she really didn't have time
Right.
to set everything up. 'Cause I would say within 2 minutes of me asking her to call, she already said everything was set up.
So what? I mean, the phone call was short, but obviously something else is going on in your head about Heather, something suspicious. So where do you think those thoughts are coming from? What was happening?
I don't know.
Did you not trust her?
Well, I mean, I trusted her because I knew that Jeff was perfectly capable of getting this amount of drugs and and having it there when we needed it there. It's just I've conducted in drug dealings before.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing something of that quantity,
Conversation
usually lasts longer than 2 minutes.
Okay. So you got a little suspicious then.
Yeah, I got a little suspicious at that time.
Okay.
And then later, and through investigation, they found out that no call to Jeff's house had ever been made from my mother's cell phone at that time.
So why do you think she told you that?
That's a question I've asked myself quite a few times. I think, the conclusion I come to is that she set this up. I mean, it was all premeditated in her, and that's basically what it boiled down to. She was just manipulating each of us to get us to go out here and do her dirty work.
And she finished manipulating you when you got back in Texas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
With the Jeff's screwing y'all around, the constant back and forth trips.
Did you get suspicious of those?
Yes, actually I did. Mainly with the time differences. I mean, the amount of time that she was gone. I mean, it didn't seem like it would take that long.
Right.
It's not really a long drive to Jeff's house.
Right.
So
what did she tell you she was going to do? The first time she left the house, the apartment that day, while you guys are in Texas now, and the first time she leaves to try to get this connection going, whose car was she in?
She would have been Justin's car at this time.
Okay, and that was. Do you remember what time that was?
It was shortly after they got there, which was early in the day.
Okay.
So it might have been about 2 o'clock or so.
What is she supposed to set up on this first meeting?
That was supposed to be the exact drug deal. She was
going to go make it by herself?
Yes. We gave her the money.
Oh, you gave her the money. How much money did you give her?
I think it was right around $950.
Okay. And for $950, what was she supposed to bring back?
15 pounds of marijuana. One of the buckets of Xanax. Some, what was it? I think so, maybe an ounce of ice, and whatever ecstasy pills that she could get.
Okay.
They were still short the money. She said that while in Kentucky, she actually said that whatever money we didn't come up with,
right.
Jeff would just front us the rest. We could pay him back.
Right.
Either we would pay him or Joseph could wire him the money through Western Union. So.
Okay, and that's supposedly when she was supposed to be making calls to Jeff, but she wasn't. Okay. Okay, so she's supposed to come back with all that for $950. How long is she gone before she gets back this first time?
Couple hours. I mean, Actually, it's probably more than just a couple. Well, no, she come back before dark. She come back before dark 'cause that's when she dropped off a little bit of marijuana. She said that Jeff wasn't home. She went to his house, got a little bit of marijuana.
Said she'd gone in the house, but he
Yes.
wasn't home.
Yes.
Did she still have the money?
Yes, at that time she had the money.
Okay.
Said he wasn't home. She brought us back a little marijuana. That's when she switched cars.
Why'd she switch cars?
I don't know. I don't know if there was any specific reason.
Did she never gave one, or nobody ever asked her?
No, it's probably because we was going to ride around in Justin's car and smoke marijuana that she had brought back. That's the most likely reason. But I mean, there was the switch of cars where she started taking my mother's car.
Okay. So the first time she takes your mom's car, where she say she's going?
She had to go to the liquor store and get some alcohol for my mother. And she was going to drop off that and then go out to Jeff's house.
So is that why you didn't go with her? Because she was supposed to make that run and then immediately go to Jeff's house. Did she say why she was going back to Jeff's house?
Because he wasn't home.
Okay. He was supposedly
He was
supposed to be home. Okay, so she leaves and she gets your alcohol?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, she gets to my mother.
Okay. And then she leaves and tells you she's going to back to Jeff's house, and she's in Sandy's car, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you remember about what time that was?
I remember my mother was cooking supper, so it might have been right around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock maybe.
Okay. And then how long is she gone?
I think till about, I'll say between 8 and 10. She didn't come back again until dark.
Did she phone you or let you know what was going on?
Yeah, she called a couple of times.
Where'd she call from?
I think she may have called from a payphone, maybe a cell phone. She didn't call from Jeff's, I don't think.
What'd she tell you?
Said that Jeff was Jeff didn't have the drugs, but it should have been there. And then it turned into Jeff has your money, but he doesn't have the drugs. She come back and said, okay, Jeff's got your money. He's not giving you the drugs, and he's not going to give you your money.
Well, did she say how Jeff got the money? Did she hand it to him? Did he take it from her?
She said she gave it to him.
She just gave it to him?
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to give the drugs?
Yeah, because the drugs were supposed to be there.
But he doesn't give her the drugs?
No.
And then now she's what, mad? Or what's going on?
Well, I don't know. She didn't seem really mad. She seemed somewhat angry at the situation.
Were you getting suspicious at this time?
Oh yes, I was suspicious throughout most of the day. I mean, especially since what happened in Kentucky with the phone call.
Yeah.
And I was somewhat suspicious that whole time. But when she's making all these phone calls to us saying that he doesn't have it, I was.
But yeah, she's staying gone a long time.
Yes.
Okay.
Now at that time I was thinking, all right, something's wrong. I don't think she might not have set this up in the beginning anyway. But when she come back the final time and said, okay, he doesn't have the drugs and he's not giving you your money back. She pretty much just kind of incited us into going out there and get your stuff because he ain't gonna give it to me.
Is that what she said? That you're gonna have to go get it?
I can't say if that was her exact words.
That's fine. It's whatever you remember.
Yeah, but I mean, that was pretty.
It was her, basically. Are you telling me, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was her idea then? That's what you just said in a matter of speaking.
Yes, her idea to go out there.
Yeah, she's saying he's kept your money, you're not getting your drugs.
Yes. Well, see, that's where it goes back to the manipulation.
Yeah.
And that she did, she was pretty much just throughout the day, just kind of getting us into angrier and angrier to the point where she knows she come up and say, well, you're going to have to do something about this because...
Did she mention to you that there was anything or any of her money or anything that belonged to her that she wanted out there that she couldn't get or needed somebody to help her get?
well, Jeff was supposed to have a check for her. I don't remember the exact amount, but for some reason I think it was $2,000.
Okay, so that's a pretty large sum of cash. I mean, of money. So it was supposed to be a check and not cash, but it was still he's
Yeah.
supposed to pay her. And it was that for the video,
Um,
or do you know what it was for?
I know it was supposed to be for pictures.
Okay, and she's not getting paid, so basically that's what it came down to.
Well, she said that the check was supposed to be left at Timeout Club because Jeff wasn't going to be at his house.
Mm-hmm.
He left it at Timeout, and she had to go out there and pick it up.
And did she go to timeout?
Supposedly she went on her way out to the liquor store.
And she didn't come back with a check, did she?
No, she said the check was not left over there.
What was her attitude then?
Nothing. I mean, didn't seem like she was very angry or anything. Nothing real serious. Didn't say anything.
She didn't say anything about Jeff at that point?
No, not at that point.
Okay.
And I can't think of anything that really changed in her mood at that time.
Do you remember prior to going to Jeff's house when you're not you give him the money, you're not getting your drugs, and you already said you get a little pissed along with everybody else? Was there a conversation? I know you said you had a conversation in the car, but was there a conversation in the house about Jeff or what everybody was going to do once you got there? Was there a particular person given assignments or any of that?
I wasn't really, it wasn't really a robbery thing at first.
Right.
So it was just kind of let's just see what the deal is. Let's find out why.
You're going to just go confront him, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what do you take out of your house to go to Jeff's house?
There was the baseball bat that I mentioned.
It belonged to you.
It was actually my baby brother's,
Okay.
or my little brother's.
Okay. Okay, you took that out of the house. Anything else? Did y'all wear gloves or?
Well, some socks come into it somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know where they come from.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember where exactly they come from.
Okay.
If I had to guess, I would say Heather because, Justin, Joseph, and Brett, they're not familiar with my mother's house.
Okay.
They wouldn't know where to go grab a bunch of socks. I know I didn't take them.
Okay.
So the only logical person would have been Heather.
So then the only conversation you remember then about, because you had told me, you said, well, we're going out there to see what's going on. And you had said something about, don't want to kill him, but if we have to, or I have to, I will. Now, is that in the car or at the house?
That's in the car.
Okay, and then that means that Justin Clapp is in the car,
Everybody's
Brett
in the car.
Matthews, Joseph Walton, Heather Miser,
And myself.
and yourself. And then Gregory, Heather's son, is where?
He is asleep.
At the apartment?
Yes.
Okay. So then everybody hears that. And you had said that no one made a comment about that?
Yeah, except for Joseph.
Except for Joseph, okay.
I actually think I may have said it more than once,
Okay.
just to make sure they understood.
And you had all had done drugs prior to going out there, right?
Yes. And literally right before we walked out the door.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you did marijuana, and did you say you did some ice before you left?
Well, the marijuana was earlier in the evening.
Earlier in the evening?
But yeah, the ice, we did that as we were.
All of you?
Yeah, I think all of us did. Joseph may not have. I know he didn't right at first when we started doing it, but he might have right at the end before we left. So I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go back out there then. So you drive to Jeff's house, and then you said something about a camera. Well, you have knowledge of this because either what, you've been there or Heather told you.
Heather told me.
Okay, and she tells you what that camera's aimed at or what it's for. What does she tell you about that camera?
Well, see, the cameras have been up for a few months prior to this.
And you know that because?
Heather told me.
Okay.
Said that, and I'd been out there. Jeff had told me about it after Heather had, explained how the setup worked and stuff. The way the cameras worked was, it had like a motion detector. The camera detects motion, it'll automatically, go to his laptop and I think maybe his TV, but definitely his laptop, and he would get a live feed of what was happening, but it didn't record.
Did Heather have keys to his house?
Yes.
She did?
She had a key to his house, key to his car, and keys to his safes, all that.
All right. So as far as you know, Jeff and Heather were getting along pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you get there and then you get the camera off the house?
Well, I was supposed to get the camera off the house before everybody went in,
But it didn't work that way, right?
but I seen everybody going into the house, so I kind of just abandoned the camera.
What was the plan though? Heather said she was going to do what when she got there first?
She was gonna get Jeff away from the door, away from his gun.
Because she knew where he kept his gun, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so basically, she was gonna have him set in a position where we come in the house, he's not gonna really be able to retaliate against anything.
So she was going to go set him up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
She said she was gonna make sure that the electrical cord was there behind the couch in case we had to tie him up. Pretty much said, I got the keys, I know where the safes are.
Okay.
She knows all that.
Okay.
Just said when she's ready that she was gonna flip the light switch a couple of times.
Okay. And so did she do that?
Well, I was behind the house.
Okay.
I was coming around from the back of the camera so the camera wouldn't see me approaching. While I'm doing that, everybody gets out of the car and starts to head inside.
Mhm.
So I was guessing that, yes, she flipped the lights. And that's why everybody went inside.
And that's when you told me that you saw, as you were, I guess, getting close to the doorway, when you
Yes.
saw Justin?
Yes.
Okay, and tell me again what you saw Justin do.
Justin reached out his hand
Mhm.
to like shake his hand,
Mhm.
kind of like, how are you doing?
Mhm.
When he shook his hand, he pulled Jeff towards him, and in the process of pulling him towards him, he spun him
Mhm.
and put him into a headlock, like a sleeper hold.
Was he choking him or
No,
just holding him?
he was, I wouldn't say choking. It's what it does, it cuts off the flow of
Oxygen?
oxygen to your brain, and it'll make you pass out momentarily.
Did Jeff pass out?
Yes.
He did.
Yes, for about 30 seconds.
Okay. And then you come in, and then, I know you've already told me all this, we'll go over it again.
Yes.
Okay, so he has him in that hole, he passes out for about 30 seconds, and the other people, meaning Brett and Joseph and Heather, are searching the house. Is that right?
Well, no, we start to beat him up.
Oh, you okay.
Whenever he puts him in the chokehold.
We meaning, go ahead and name who's beating him up.
Well, Justin, when we put him in the chokehold, they fell into the couch. So
Right,
Justin, he is laying on top of Justin. Justin has him in the chokehold and is
Okay.
leaned up against the couch.
Okay.
That's when Joseph, Brett, and I are starting beating him. At some point, the baseball bat comes in. Justin rolls him off of him, and Jeff is somewhat halfway on the couch
Uh-huh.
and halfway in the floor.
Okay.
And everybody starts kicking him, except for Heather. She's not.
What's she doing?
She's just standing there watching.
She's watching all this.
Yeah, she's just standing there watching.
She saying anything?
No, no stop or no.
She's not
need
doing
it,
any
need
of
it. But she wasn't saying, yeah, kick him or yeah, do this. She was just standing there watching us.
Okay.
We beat him up pretty good at that point.
Who has the bat?
I do.
Okay, so you picked up the bat, and is Justin still holding him at this point? Right after they kind of rolled halfway off the couch?
For a second, yes, until he kind of struggles free from underneath him and gets up and he starts kicking him.
Justin does?
Yes.
Where does he kick him?
I don't remember it been somewhere around his body.
You mean the torso? Is that what you're saying? The
Yes,
torso
right.
area?
More from what I can remember, Justin would have been more likely in a position to kick him maybe in the ribs.
So
into the
is
stomach.
Jeff down at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so he's down
Yes.
and struggling, I guess, trying to get away.
Yes, trying to get away.
Okay, so Justin's kicking him, and then you have the bat.
Yes.
Okay, and then tell me again what happens right after that.
Well, we beat him up for a good couple of minutes.
Well, when you say we, you're doing the bat. Is Justin still kicking him, or is
Yes.
Justin now doing something else?
Everybody except for Heather. Joseph, Justin, Brett.
Everybody got a kick in?
Or kicking him and hitting him and stuff, and now I'm hitting him with a baseball bat.
Okay. All right. So then, then you said Justin does what after you get finished with the baseball bat?
He takes, I think it was a necktie, maybe a sash kind of deal.
Do you remember where you got that from?
So I didn't even know this until maybe, when was that? Did I talk to you about that?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
Where I told you I'd seen Justin on the bench.
I don't remember, Sean.
I don't remember exactly when. It was just a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I'd come back from the individual voir dire and seen Justin sitting on the bench down at booking, waiting to go in the conference room and see his attorney. And he told me at that time that he had taken the necktie or whatever it was, wrapped it around Jeff's neck, and put the bat through there. I guess he tied it in a knot, put it through there, and started to twist.
Did you see him? You didn't see him do that there? When that happened, or he's telling you this now that he's in jail?
Well, see, I didn't remember it happening.
Did you remember once he told you? Because I know you did drugs.
No, I didn't really remember that taking place.
Okay.
But I mean, I didn't figure he was lying.
With multiple of her co-conspirators speaking, investigators turned to Heather Miser.
Too tight? They're too tight?
They're not too tight. I guess they're just cut.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, I'll take those off and get a little more comfortable. We mentioned a second ago at the jail that I'm Detective Duncan from Smith County Sheriff's Department, Howard, Texas. This is Lieutenant Wigington. He's from our department also. Well, what I want to do is read you your rights, okay? And then we'll go from there. Okay, so you have the right to remain silent and not make any statement at all, and that any statement you make may be used against you at your trial. Any statement you make may be used as evidence against you in court. You have the right to have a lawyer present to advise you prior to and during any questioning. If you're unable to employ a lawyer, you have the right to have a lawyer appointed to advise you prior to and during any questioning, and you have the right to terminate this interview at any time. I've explained your rights, and do you understand them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm just going to tell you what this says, and you can tell me if you want to do this. It says, I want to talk to you now without a lawyer being present. Do you wish to talk to us?
My mom told me she has a lawyer waiting for me.
Okay, so you do not wish to talk to us?
She told me I should wait.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I don't,
That's fine. What I would like you to do is just initial that I read you your rights.
Okay, I don't want to be, like, not cooperating or anything like that, but she has one waiting for me there or something.
Yeah, this is just look it over. This is just what I read to you. This is
Okay.
your Miranda rights and just initial.
Right, each one of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, she understands.
Right down.
This is her decision. Come on. She makes the decision, not me.
But you heard that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. It is your decision not to talk to us, correct?
Right.
Okay.
I've never had to do anything like this before, so I just,
Okay, as the other detective said, we just want to make sure you're clear
Mhm.
on what's going on. Okay. And then it's your decision to refuse to talk to us. No one else's. Okay. Okay, yes, we're done. Are these yours or which one you hit on her?
Sure.
Here, start with this one first.
I'm sorry,
Okay, that's your right. That's all right.
I can if you don't.
Joseph Walton and Brett Matthews pleaded guilty to aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon and were each sentenced to 25 years in prison. Sean Wilhelm and Justin Clapp pleaded guilty to capital murder. They were each sentenced to life in prison. Alleged mastermind Heather Miser pleaded guilty to aggravated robbery and was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Investigators are still convinced that the robbery was cover for the premeditated murder of Jeff Joplin.